Hi everyone, welcome to Power Thursdays. Today we have Miss April Dunnam on the show, who is a Power Platform developer advocate at Microsoft. April is a process automation princess, SharePoint iron, karaoke queen, a woman who codes but teaches others to build apps and automation with zero code. April is a Power Platform developer advocate at Microsoft with a love and passion for the Power Platform. She maintains a blog with M365 and Power Platform related topics. Hey April, and welcome to Power Thursdays. I'm just gonna hand it over to the guys who will be handling the live today. I quickly need to go somewhere, so bye and hey.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Leto. Thank you. April, it's such an honor to have you on our show today. We've been waiting for this day for like 4 weeks now, just a month. thank God we finally have you on the show. Welcome, and hope our guests, our viewers will be entertained and they'll learn so much from you today. Welcome to the show, April.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, yeah, we saw that you had a busy day today. 2 webinars. You just came from another one right now since you're joining us. Basically, for us to actually invite on the show is because every Thursday we usually do our Power Apps, Power Platforms tutorials here on YouTube. So we thought, why not bring someone who's within the environment, who's working there full time, to actually talk about power platforms, the ins and outs, how it's like working in the current environment, what you do, and how other people can get involved in it. So first of all, I think it would be lovely for our viewers to actually get to know who is April. Besides the bio that has been read, it's good to hear from the horse's mouth, who is April?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, April Dunnam, I do work as a Power Platform developer advocate at Microsoft. So I've been in this role about 3 months now. Before joining Microsoft, I kind of did my own consulting company. So I did that for about 8 years. I come from a development background, so I did a lot of C#, .NET development back in the day, and a lot of work with SharePoint, which is a collaboration tool within Microsoft 365. So did that for many years, but then kind of quickly transitioned to doing Power Platform stuff in my consultancy. As soon as I heard about it, I heard about something called Project Sienna, which ended up being PowerApps early on when it was first released, and realized quickly that this is pretty cool. I can really reduce the amount of time it's taking me to build some of these applications and solutions for my customers by leveraging this instead. So kind of was an early adopter of that and went with it ever since. I did get Microsoft MVP before joining as well, so that was pretty cool and a good honor. And then yeah, I was able to join Microsoft in this role, which is helping evangelize the Power Platform and creating documentation and solutions and stuff to be able to show people everything that you can do with the Power Platform.
Okay. Basically, how was it like getting to be involved in Power Platforms, not knowing anything about it? Because you're saying you're from a dev background, C# and all those programming languages that you use. How was it like transitioning from the hardcore dev into low-code dev?
Yeah, I will say it was a little bit of shift in the mindset, I guess, right? So, I mean, that's I think coming from that background, yeah, you gotta think about things a little bit different way, right? I kind of had to put on my Excel hat, I guess, since like a lot of the formula language is very Excel-like. So I kind of went back to my early Excel days there to kind of realize what I have to do. And so, I mean, it really wasn't that bad though of a transition. It kind of made sense because for me, I used a lot of InfoPath, which is like a tool that we would use back in the day to kind of create custom forms and stuff in SharePoint. So kind of the technology and the concept there was pretty similar. So it wasn't a big difference there. I will say when I was first starting out in it, the documentation was not nearly as good as it is now. So it was a little bit of a struggle just figuring out, well, why doesn't this formula work, or this isn't working, or how I would expect it. So I did rely a lot on some of the other early adopters of Power Platform to help troubleshoot some things and get ideas. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I understand. Although for some of us, because I started doing Power Platforms like last year, January, when I first heard about it, and to my surprise, maybe you will say, for a learner, we actually did a mini event whereby we were teaching Power Platforms to some of our fellow students, and you know, as we were doing it, it became quite easy, and we transitioned easy on it. So what basically was a hinder was that being a dev, coming from a dev environment, now going to low code, it's actually became, interesting. I end up forgetting that I'm a dev by nature, because
Yeah.
Power Platforms, it has so many functionalities that you can do without even coding. Yeah. Talking on your experience, because you're an advocate for it. So being an advocate, how has really people you interact with taken Power Platforms, those people in industry, students, or even someone outside of the dev sector, have they taken transitioning into Power Platforms? Is it hard, intermediate, or is just easy? It's like flowing water.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love about the Power Platform is we're full of stories of people who have transitioned their careers of what they were doing. So, like one of the people that I work with on my team in the advocacy, his name is Joe Camp, and he was actually for years in the finance industry. Wasn't doing anything. So he wasn't a developer like I was or anything like that. He was doing finance stuff, and he actually kind of transitioned and started leveraging the Power Platform and stuff for his work, and kind of switched careers. Now he's an advocate as well on our team, helping advocate for the Power Platform. So, I mean, there's a great story. There's full of other stories. I know of someone I was talking to the other day who was kind of ex-military in the project management space, and he just saw a need for like how can we make our project management process more efficient. So he started dabbling in Power BI, and then eventually learned about PowerApps and built a Power App that they're helping to help with their whole project management system now. And now he's no longer in the project management space. He's their Power Platform citizen development person at that company. So there's no shortage of stories like that of people that come from all different backgrounds, non-technical to maybe technical like myself, to leveraging the Power Platform to do stuff. And that just speaks to the power of it, how it's, a platform for everyone, right? Whether you don't come from a technical background or maybe you're a developer, there's something in it for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So being in an environment, do you still maybe contribute your dev background into developing some of the Power Platform features, maybe writing extensions or implementing a new Power Platform feature? Do you still incorporate the dev background into that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I love about it, right? I mean, there's so many extensions that we can add in. So, a common one that I saw, especially when I was doing consulting, is I was writing a ton of custom connectors. So even though the Power Platform has these out-of-the-box connectors to all kinds of services, lots of people have maybe like a kind of a legacy internal system maybe that they're using, and they want to be able to connect to that so that they can, automate their processes. So, leveraging something like Azure API management to host that API and pulling that into Power Apps or Power Automate to extend the platform there was a huge way that I would bring value. Or maybe it's like you needed some really custom business rules. So I find myself maybe leveraging some Azure functions and integrating that within Power Apps to have those additional business rules. And of course, things like the Power Apps component framework. So while there's tons of visuals and different components and stuff that we have out of the box in Power App, sometimes it's not everything that we need. So we can create custom components and stuff that we can integrate within Power Apps component framework. So those are kind of the main extension areas that I still do and see on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, interesting, super interesting. Because that was always fascinating about it, that how can I exactly incorporate my dev background into Power Platforms. So another question is, how does one come from being a student Power Platform developer into the industry? How do I get into the industry as a Power Platform developer?
Well, so I will say, like, I've noticed, like, we've been keeping track on our team, like, all of the Power Platform related jobs that we've been seeing in the market, and it's just like constantly growing. Like, Joe on our team has been tracking that really heavily. There's tons of opportunities for Power Platform. I think how you transition is, for one, you can't beat experience. So finding projects that you can work on and build. One of the things that I did, for example, is even if I didn't have a full-time job in it, I found charities that I could help. Do you need an application built? Like I helped like the Red Cross, for example, build something in Power Apps that would help them out, so that you have that hands-on experience and you have a portfolio that says, look, I built this in Power Apps, or I built this automation or this dashboard, so that you can actually show to potential employers what you did. Another one, though, that's really good is certification. I think going and taking some of those Microsoft certifications speaks a lot to, you actually confirms what you know, and I think employers kind of look for that in their candidates, like, are they certified in that? We have several Power Platform certifications. Power Platform Fundamentals is the one that I usually recommend people starting with, because it kind of covers everything about the platform, and do you understand which product you would use when in their use cases. And then we have, more advanced all the way up to Power Apps developer, Power Platform developer ones, kind of get into that pro code, full code type side of things.
Okay. Wow, that's super great. Now we get the idea on how exactly we can showcase Power Platforms, since most people are not yet aware of it. So in order for them to be aware of it, we need to do side projects. Then we showcase them to those people which we think will actually want to use Power Platforms in solving their organization problems they have. Another question says, I have a problem with time management. So how do I handle both? How do you handle both your job and also creating content for your YouTube channel?
That's a great question. I have that same problem as well. I think we all have, time management struggles. I found for myself that I just have to, what works for me is boxing out my time. So I know between the hours of 9 to 1 o'clock, I'm going to super focus on getting my most important work tasks done. I'll take a little break, and then from like 1 to 2, I just organize my day like that. I'm going to brainstorm ideas for videos that I can make for the Power Platform, and then usually in the evenings is when I'll spend the time actually creating those videos and editing them. And I kind of just schedule out like my days. Like for my YouTube channel, for example, I try to release on Wednesdays, so I know I'm typically going to record the content and get it all produced and everything on Tuesday evenings. And I just block out my calendar then, knowing that's my day where I need to focus and get that done, and then spend some time early on, kind of prepping for that as far as getting the ideas going. So I think it all just comes down to, at least for me, scheduling that out pretty rigidly and sticking to that schedule.
Oh yeah. Because yeah, time management is very, very much important, and being in the industry and also having your YouTube channel obviously demands more. So you need to actually schedule everything that you need to do in order to make sure that it works according, or it works in your favor. So another thing, some people might say the low code is taking over the dev sector. what's your view on that? How can you actually enlighten people on exactly that? No, dev won't be taken over by low code because we still need the devs for low code to be developed. How can you inspire people on that? Because
Yeah.
they've been saying low code, you're taking our jobs now because you automating all our functions in one step. So as we take a week to develop a function, but you're doing it in a day. How can you exactly elaborate to people that no, we still in the dev sector, where else there's power platforms?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's something obviously we see a lot. And I mean, I understand the fear, right? It's like, well, everything's going to be automated. I'm not going to be needed anymore. Honestly, that couldn't be farther from the truth because there's people like myself that are developers. I mean, that we still have jobs. There's tons of people like that because what it comes down to is low code technology and the Power Platform is great, but there's always going to be a point in time or a place that we need to extend it or we need that code first traditional developer experience for that. So take, I can name several. I already mentioned them before. PowerApps component framework, building additional components and widgets, using your JavaScript, TypeScript skills to be able to bring additional value and add additional widgets that just aren't there in the product and probably never will be, depending on if it's a highly specific use case. Adding in the integrations that we talked about to different APIs with custom connectors. Also, the whole application lifecycle, we can't forget that, right? How do we actually, if we want to use the Power Platform at its best, and we need to think about how are we going to deploy the applications and manage the lifecycle. That's where you get really heavy into Azure DevOps and GitHub integration and continuous integration and pipelines and all of that stuff that traditional low-code developer people aren't going to really get into, but that's stuff that people who know how traditional code know like the back of their hand. They know how to leverage DevOps and GitHub and all of that to automate those processes. So there's always going to be areas like that where you need that side of things. And what we're seeing really is like what we're calling fusion development teams. So really all that low-code technology is doing is making it possible to have even bigger teams of people to make building solutions better. So we can have low-code people building applications and Power Apps alongside a code-first developer. And really it allows code-first people to focus on what they really care about. So, a lot of times, if you come from a development background, you have to end up being the jack of all trades and have to do everything from the front end development to the back end to building in the authentication. And you might not like all that. Maybe you just are a back end person. That's what you want to focus on. Well, with the Power Platform, you can do that now. You can let a citizen developer build a nice front end of Power Apps, and you do all the cool back end stuff with the APIs, integration, and CI/CD, and all of that.
Oh, interesting. Another question that just came in from my colleague here, which is most common that he always asks, and then our principal advocate Donna is always talking about it. Have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome? If so, how do you feel with it?
Yeah, I know Donna talks about this a lot, and she has a book on it and everything. I definitely deal with that on a day-to-day basis. Kind of always wondering when the shoe's gonna drop and like people are gonna figure out, like even doing this live stream, man, people might realize, like I don't know what I'm talking about. That kind of nagging feeling in the back of my head. I think I try to do, some of the techniques that Donna I know has talked about is going to challenge those assumptions. Well, like what evidence do you have that is true? You are where you are for a reason, right? So I think I just try to challenge those whenever it happens, but then also, kind of embrace it because in a way it kind of means that you really care about what you're doing, you're passionate about it, and that you're probably doing something right if you do have that feeling because you're in a good spot in your career. So I just try to challenge it and push myself out of my box there and embrace it and not let it really get to me.
Oh yeah, we get you, and true, you gotta find ways to deal with imposter syndrome one way or the other, because it's within your emotions, the way you behave in some instances. So I get your point of what you're trying to say. Another question is, this one has been really into me, because right now the world is changing. The fourth IR, the way we should be teaching people is changing. University curriculum is changing and all that. So the question is, do you think it will be relevant to have Power Platforms integrated to university curriculum?
I mean, I think so. I would love to see it. I think we're seeing more of that, right? When I was going to school, we didn't have like anything about low code development and, those traditional development classes and all that. I would love to see low code technology integrated in that, because I mean, everything that we're seeing, all the studies being done and the research, is that low code development is going to be the primary way that applications are developed in the next few years. So I mean, it's going to be the technology that we use the majority of the time to build most of our applications. So I think that needs to be integrated into our, computer classes, pass on how to leverage low code, how to extend it. Because there's no way right now with the demand that we have for applications, 500 million new apps in the next 5 years that need to be built. There's no way we meet that demand with traditional coding languages only. We need low-code dev to help solve that gap, and therefore we need it in our curriculum to make sure that we have enough people skilled up in it to tackle that.
Okay. My colleagues seems to be sending more questions, because there's quite a lot of them. So another question is, how important is it for companies to embrace Fusion teams, Power Platforms plus traditional code? How can they benefit?
I think it's very important. I think that's like the only way that we're going to succeed and meet the demand that we see with applications is by embracing Fusion development teams, by, implementing the Power Platform or low-code technology, whatever you want, in your company there, and letting those hybrid teams of citizen developers and code-first developers work together on that. I mean, otherwise you're just not going to be able to tackle and bring the most business value that you can to the companies without embracing that. So I mean, I just think it's not an if, it's a when that's going to need to happen.
Okay. Another question here that we have: what are the challenges do you face as you represent the Power Platform? I'm going to read as it is. For example, people saying that the Power Platform doesn't have a place in modern software development, or being accused of taking jobs away from traditional developers. What are the challenges you face?
There's a few. I guess I think I'll say it's gotten better since the beginning. Like as the Power Platform becomes more well known and more established. Like early on, it was just like, is this something that's really going to be invested in? Is it something that's going to take off? So it was a little bit harder. But I mean, the products have been around for 5+ years now, and they're constantly, like just last year alone, they added 383 new features to the Power Platform. So I think that speaks for itself that this is something that Microsoft's heavily invested in, that they're constantly adding new features and functionality into. So that kind of helps solve one of the problems, is like, well, is this something that's going to stick around for a while? Is it worth my investment, right? I think that kind of answers that question, that it is something here to stay. That was a common challenge that I faced early on as far as trying to get people to adopt it. We have things like, what do we all face? Like licensing, how do we handle that? How does it make sense to tackle that? So that's another challenge you kind of face, but you just got to think of it in different ways, right? Where, I mean, yeah, maybe you have to pay for a license to utilize it, but if you see the volume of applications and how quickly you can build them, it balances out and makes like more sense in traditional development. So that's another thing that we kind of face from time to time too, as far as getting adoption and people excited about it, and then just really awareness. Even though it's been around a while, a lot of people just don't know about it, right? So making sure, just spreading the word that it's here. You can build bots with it. You can build applications for mobile and desktop. You can automate things even on your desktop, and just making sure people even know what you can do is often the biggest challenge.
Okay, interesting. another question, which is more based on the upcoming event, which is Microsoft Build. What are some of the exciting sessions of Power Platforms to look out for? Without revealing too much, so just a glimpse of what we'll be expecting in the Microsoft Build.
Yeah, got to be careful not to reveal too much there. But obviously, there's a lot of Power Platform related sessions and really focus on that fusion development story that we talked about. Like I know Charles Lamanna, who is kind of overseeing the Power Platform, Microsoft, he has a session that's really good. We have a lot of table talks as well related to fusion development. Table talks are one of my favorite things at these conferences because you can get people using the products day to day that have the experience, like MVPs and other experts in the community, having open discussion about that. So there's lots of table talks about fusion development and Power Platform that are really good that I'm looking forward to. And another thing too, we recently released a Fusion Developer ebook that kind of walks through the process of how can code first devs and citizen developers work together and kind of guide you through maybe leveraging an Azure function and API management and integrating that into a Power App. So that kind of coincides with going on to build that ebook, and I think there'll be some more. There's lots of great sessions around that story and how we can make it easier for people with traditional coding language skills to leverage the Power Platform and explain the opportunities there.
Okay. Another question you would say is, are we ever gonna see Power Platforms going on commercial basis? They are on organizational and or internal. So are we ever gonna see them going commercial?
I don't know. I'm not sure what that. I haven't heard anything along that, but I mean that's an interesting question. I'm not sure what the future holds there.
Yeah, that's a fair question. That's a fair question there. There's a fair answer to it. And then oh, there's my colleague is back now. Gone again.
Hi everyone. Network issue, so that's why I'm.
Yeah. Thank you for coming back, Leb. We've missed you.
Of course, man. I have a very personal question. It's not related to PowerApps in general. It's just a question that I've always wondered. So, like, whenever I look at whenever I watch your YouTube videos and your tutorials, you always seem so confident. You always have, like, you always seem as if you know what you're talking about. Okay, actually you do, but like, how? You do, yeah, you really do. How do I, if I'm generally a shy person that can't really talk that well, like I can't not really good in public speaking, how do I become or improve or become just like you? Like how do I get to that point?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because it's cool to hear that I'm being confident, I guess. I never know how I come across in videos. I'm painfully shy, just FYI. Like I literally, like I would make my mom order for me in restaurants. Like I didn't want to talk to people, and just like I would bail out of my classes if I knew I had to do like a presentation in front of the teachers. Like that's how shy I was growing up. So it took a lot for me to start speaking and stuff in my career just because of that overwhelming, like social anxiety and shyness that I did have. I think it's easier, honestly, in videos. That's one of the reasons why I loved YouTube, because I'm not really speaking to a bunch of people like in a stage, like at Ignite, thousands of people that I have to stare at. I'm just kind of talking to the camera. So one of the things that's really helped me is like I'm just talking to my best friend, looking in the camera, talking, and relaxed, and I'm not this, or I kind of send those negative feelings back, and I just act like I'm talking to one of my friends and explaining how to create a dialog box in PowerApps or whatever it might be. And I think when you change your mindset and you think about it that way, like you're just explaining something that you're passionate about to one of your friends, I mean, it's just natural, like whatever confidence comes across naturally, because that's how you would be in just an intimate one-on-one conversation with someone you're comfortable with.
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That actually is kind of helpful to think of it as if I'm just talking to a friend while I'm talking to the camera. Yeah, because I really do. Like I'm always talking about tech, my friends sort of get bummed out sometimes because they're not really tech people. Well, most of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that's really helpful. Also, I have just one more question from my side. Um, Whenever I start talking about Power Apps with like general people, like most students from my university don't know much about Power Apps. All like the only way they've been introduced to Power Apps is through the channel that the part does the channel. So whenever we start talking about it with the students and we tell them what it's about, and then we mention the fact that it's not for commercial use, it's just for whenever you, like if you're building an app for a specific organization, then they sort of just they get demotivated. They don't feel like getting into the low code development. How do I bring back the motivation? How do I make them more passionate about it? Because you might find that someone has like the right skills or the right discipline to actually become really good in it, but just because they feel like you can't make it for everyone else, um, they just sort of shy away from it.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess that's tricky and kind of based on what you're trying to accomplish here. But I think just because it's not for commercial use doesn't mean that a lot of people can't use the apps you built. With the Power Platform, we have the app source where you can put something that you developed on, and other companies can go and take that application and use it in their environment. So even though we can't take a Power App and put it on the iPhone App Store, right? It has to run in the context of the Power App in someone's Office 365 environment, doesn't mean we can't have tremendous impact with it. Like take some of that templates that I built. So for my YouTube channel, I did this Template Tuesday series, and I released a few different templates there. So people can just download that, I put them on my GitHub, and they could install that in their own environment. And while, again, it's not on a traditional app store, I can tell you story after story of huge organizations that have taken that template that I built and used that in their environment. And I've got so many thank you messages saying that, would this really help them? They're using this in their environment for this or that, like my desk reservation one, to be able to book a desk at your organization when you're getting back is widely used. I just had a story today about a big organization taking that and implementing it and thanking me for putting that out there. So there are ways to share what you build and have it used across multiple different companies, industries, even if it might not be the traditional way that you might want to see it in an app store. So, I mean, I kind of usually just explain it that way, that you can still have it used in the multiple organizations, because the market using Office 365 is huge. So you have a big area that you can get into and the people using the applications you build.
That's cool. At least now I have a way to sort of just explain that whenever that question pops up. Yeah. Well, most of my questions are just relating to me or just the guys. Yeah. It doesn't really cater for everyone else. Like this. The guys and I, Sbani and somebody the Tico, we usually just meet up and talk about our apps.
Uh-oh, I think we lost you.
So how do I, if ever I built an app and then left it halfway, because I'm sort of like I hit a wall. How do I go back and then just I don't know break through that wall? How do you usually do that? If whenever you hit a wall while building an app, how do you break through that wall? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we've all been there. I know I've been there too. Sometimes for me, I just need to sleep on it. Like oddly enough, if I am struggling with something I'm building, and I just stop for the night and have a good night's rest, sometimes I'll even dream like what the solution is, how to fix it. But a lot of the times, I like getting a second set of eyes on it. So I have a few people, like in the community that I know are crazy smart with the Power Platform. So if I'm just super stuck, rather than beating my head against the wall trying to figure it out myself, I'll gladly reach out to one of them and see, like, hey, I'm struggling with this patch statement isn't working or whatever it is. Can you just take a quick look at it and, gut check me and see if I'm doing something stupid here? And that usually helps most of the time. Just asking someone else. And I would say don't be afraid to ask for help for someone, because that's the great thing to me about the Power Platform community. It's I've never seen a group of people more passionate about it and willing to help with anything.
So does this mean that if ever I find myself in a stuck in a wall, can I maybe reach out to you for like help? Is that a thing I can do?
Yeah, I mean, I get every day someone asking me a Power Platform related question, how to get unstuck with something. So I don't mind, whether it's just posting a link to like, you need this function and here's how to use it, link on the documentation to get unstuck. I mean, I'm happy to help.
All right. Thanks. I just want to know that. So now I'll just bother you all the time on Twitter. Yeah. Along with the
Um,
guys and everything.
can I
Yeah, that's
ask
that's
one
like mostly most of
question?
the questions that I had. Cause yeah, most of the things that I know about PowerApps, I learned through the YouTube channel and then Microsoft Docs. Cause there's not really anywhere else to go, you know. Yeah. So that's that. That's what I do. Hello, Leto.
Yeah, I had just one question, and it's totally unrelated to the topic. It's about your bio. You said something about a SharePoint siren. What does that mean? Because
That's,
I tried
yeah.
searching it on Google, and all that came up was your name. So I thought maybe it's just like a thing that only April Dunham does.
Yeah, so that's just something I came up with a long time ago. So like I said, when I was first starting out in my career, I did a lot of SharePoint stuff, with that collaboration product for Microsoft 365. So I was blogging early on. So before I even did YouTube, I had a blog. And I was trying to think a name, what to name that blog rather than maybe just my name. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I'm blogging a lot about SharePoint, so maybe SharePointSiren.com because, a siren and mythological time to someone that like lured people in with their songs. So I'm thinking, oh, cool, I'll lure people into my blog with like all these cool tips and tricks on SharePoint and stuff. So that's just a silly name I came up with to describe my blog at the time.
Okay, okay, that's a pretty cool name, and it's just unique to you only, because that's what I saw on Google. So,
Yeah, well, and I was pretty obsessed with Starbucks too, and their mascot is a siren, so it's kind of like
ah, oh yeah, and there's a series also called Siren.
yeah.
So,
That's a
okay,
scary series.
okay, that's pretty awesome. Huh?
Since the guy couldn't make it, I asked him if he had any questions because he's been looking forward to actually being in the session. So he asked one question. He says, besides Power Apps, you also touch on Power Automate. There's always expressions where you write small functions to convert an image, for an example. Sometimes when you are done with the expression, uh, sometimes it does not pick up. How do you overcome that problem? Because it is rather frustrating.
Yeah,
Hello?
expressions and Power Automate are something that I think they are continually working on, like that little box that we have to work with the expressions in there. I would really love to see that get a little bit better, where we have like a Visual Studio Code type experience to work with those expressions. One trick that I like to use, if I know I'm going to have some kind of complex expression in the flow that I'm building, so say I'm trying to have an expression in an email or in a condition, I'll try to take that outside of where I'm trying to use it, and I'll put that into an action in Power Automate called Compose. Because Compose is basically just a way to store like it's almost like a variable in a way in Power Automate. So I'll put that expression in there. That way, when I run my flow, when I do a test, I can see easily, did that expression work or not, and get the error without it trying to just error out and call like the email I'm trying to send or wherever I'm trying to use the actual expression. So I kind of extract that out into the compose, which helps me debug what's going on. And usually the help that you get in there is pretty helpful as far as what is happening with the error. So that in combination with good like binging or Googling skills usually always helps me figure out what's going on and what's not working.
Now that's great. I'm learning a lot today, and yeah, I really am happy that you're on the show. uh, we've been trying to get you on the show for a while, or we've been talking about it. So this is really fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I hope that he's gonna watch this. Yes.
So I was just saying, I'm happy I could finally make it. I know I was like busy with the Microsoft Business Application Summit, lots of things going on. So happy I could finally make it on.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
So
I'm just glad that you came. That's all that matters.
Yeah, thank you
okay,
very much for coming.
and then I think this would be last question from my side. Uh, what's the future of low code? Is low code the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think low code is the future, and I mean, we're just going to see more exciting, cool things being added. So, like we've already seeing it with the robotic process automation stuff and Power Automate, like being able to take a low code technology and even automate things outside of the cloud services we're used to automating, things on our desktop, like those mundane things we'd have to do, like copying information from one spreadsheet to another, or using legacy applications like Windows apps or whatever it might be. I think that's like going to be a huge area that's going to keep growing as a robotic process automation. I think chatbots are another one that we're going to see used even more and more. Right now, they're kind of in their infancy, but I see a lot of people preferring to interact with like a virtual agent chatbot than having to go research information on a website of how to do something. They'd rather just ask the question quickly. So I see that area really continuing to grow and really take off as far as low code stuff goes. And then probably the AI functionality to be used in combination with low code technology. So we already have AI Builder where we can, do things like form processing, object recognition. But that in combination with like mixed reality, that's something that's really cool. We can do in PowerApps, right? I think we're going to see more mixed reality VR type use cases where we can pull up a Power App, look at our data in mixed reality, and inject some AI capability into that. I think those areas are just going to keep growing. We're going to see more of that in the low code stack.
That's super interesting. That's super interesting. I don't know if my colleagues have some questions. Lebo,
Um,
Leto.
yeah, I have a question. Um, since you before isn't before this you weren't like in low code at all. You were just a traditional dev doing traditional dev stuff. And now you're into low code. So do you see yourself maybe in nearing the future doing more traditional or more low code?
I mean, I really like the low code side of things. I like the hybrid. So I see myself still doing both. Like I want to really lean into the story of how can we leverage, like C Sharp, .NET, JavaScript stuff into the Power Platform and low code technologies. So I
Yeah.
think I'm always going to do both.
How do you manage doing both? By the way, it seems kind of hard. Like just you learn how to code and then you learn how to do low code stuff. How do you manage like both? I'm sorry because you said that was the last question. I just got curious.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, it's, especially with technology, it's constantly changing. It's a lot to keep up with. I will say I have to kind of find my focus area. Like there's so much in the development side of things, from like AI stuff to mixed reality to ML and .NET. I kind of have to. I find like lately I have to find my lane of what I really want to stay on top of. So like maybe that's JavaScript, or whatever, development and stuff like that, and then the Power Platform and stick to that. So I kind of, and then everything else, if I can learn it, that's not in my focus area, I'll read up on it. But I think it's really about finding the main things that you're passionate about and not trying to be the jack of all trades and try to know everything, in code first development, everything Power Platform. Pick the ones that you really are most passionate about and you find yourself that you'll probably use a lot and focusing on that. And then it's not as hard to keep up with if you have a more narrow niche of things you're trying to keep up with.
Thanks. I feel like I'm learning like a lot of things from your experience, so I don't have to go through all that. Yeah. Um, and like also, okay, this is the last question, like the last question, right? Uh, um, do I really need to have the Power Platform certifications to become like a professional, like low code developer within like the industry? Like, is it really that important?
Yeah, I mean, good question. For one, I don't think you need any certification really. You don't like need it. I think it's just a nice to have. If you want to go down that path and do the study, because I think some organizations and companies do put a lot of value behind someone being certified, right? I think that is a good thing to have on your resume. Just like a little it's probably not going to make or break the decision, right? Whether you have a certification or not, but it will give you some points. At least that's what I found in my career. I think I did some certifications early on. Like I said, I started on SharePoint. I took some SharePoint certifications, and I felt like that did help my chances of getting a job and set me apart. And I mean, I think it has to do with, you got to consider your competition, right? Like, who are you competing with this job against? Like myself being a woman, I was competing with a lot of other guys that were probably just as or maybe more qualified. So anything that I could do to set myself apart from the rest of the people, and if certifications was that, I wanted to make sure that I did that. So I felt like it did help.
So basically, certification sort of help you, like it just puts you like one step through the door, and then the
Yeah.
rest is just you and your passion and skills.
Yep, exactly.
That's really helpful. Then basically, we do need certifications in a way. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
but
mean, what does it hurt? Usually, I mean, too, like if you can get like discount ones if you complete cloud skills challenges usually at some of these events too. So it definitely doesn't hurt anything. I'll tell you that to go and get a certification. If anything, it only helps. So
okay. This is the last question. This is this is okay. I swear, this is the last. I swear. So, uh, what's one piece of advice you'd give to upcoming or student low-code developers? Like this one piece. If you would just give one advice to someone that's learning this and is really passionate about it, wants to go and just be within the industry and focus on it.
oh gosh, that's hard. Just one. Narrowing it down to just one.
Okay, we can make it five. We
Okay.
can make it five.
I think for one, like just anything that you're doing, I think passion trumps everything. I think there's so many things that we can do with our life and areas we can choose to focus on. So find something that you're passionate about, and that's going to get you farther than anything. And with the Power Platform specifically, try to tackle things that, what are cool problems that you can solve with it. Maybe not get bogged down in the boring things like, well, I'll just build this boring like time entry system. Like, what's something really cool that you think you can build? Like maybe it is integrating mixed reality to see, like, make a makeshift hospital and a mixed reality app that will track and put in hospital beds so you can build it out. Whatever it is, find fun things. Like, don't get bogged down in the boring day to day. Try to inject fun projects to keep you passionate and excited about what you're doing, because it's too easy to get bogged down in the boring stuff, to forget about, like, why did you start with this in the first place, or why are you interested in the first place. So explore your passions and in creative ways that you can keep going with that.
Oh, so it just sort of gets more fun while you learn than just yeah. So basically, you should not try to be like everyone else and try to learn the same way they do. You should just do things that make you like that just excite you and make you happy and that you're passionate about, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because if you're passionate about something, you're going to want to keep doing it. You're going to want to, like, man, this is really cool. I love what I'm building in this Power App. I want to read more. I want to watch more videos. I want to see now how I can add this into it, rather than something that, like, well, I have to do this for a project and it's boring, or something like that. I mean, for me, that's how I started. I mean, I was building fun applications to, like, keep track of all my clothes or something, so silly like that might seem silly, but was fun for me because it was helping me out with something, and something that I love.
That's helpful because this one time we tried to teach high schoolers Power Apps and everything about them, and then they just got confused because it was just also technical. So so now this would be helpful because then we can just make a very fun app that they could just get really intrigued by and get drawn into it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think that's the key. I don't know if you looked, some of the people in the community, there's that Power Apps for Kids series that they have too, where they do like it's geared towards teaching children how to use PowerApps, and they always have really fun scenarios that kids would be interested in. Like I was on one of their calls during the Christmas holiday season, and we did like an app where we could record ourselves singing a Christmas carol, and so record it and we played it back. Something just fun ideas like that is always helpful when you're trying to teach, especially like younger people, how to use PowerApps and the Power Platform.
Okay, thank you. I did say that was the last question, so I don't want to keep you for any longer. Thank you for being with us. Honestly, this is a huge opportunity for us to actually learn from you directly instead of just watching the videos on YouTube all the time. Yeah. Asmani, any last questions? Anything? Is that it?
No, I think we covered most of the questions we had for today. It's such a great honor to have had you on the show, April. Hopefully, should we bother you on coming to the show again and really doing a demonstration on Power Apps in the near future, we'll sure do that schedule. Great tutorial session live. Thank you again for today. It means a lot.
Yeah,
Could
definitely.
that
Happy to
actually
come
be
back
okay?
anytime.
Oh, thanks. That's cool. I'm looking forward to that. I had to be sure. Anyways, thank you for being with us. Really appreciate it. And Deco actually has comments down below because he couldn't make it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, because we literally learned like everything, like most of the stuff from you, like the videos, literally. Yeah. Since last year. So this is really cool. Yeah.
I love that.
Really,
That's why I do what I do. Yeah.
yeah. That's
Thanks a lot.
Deco,
Always
you want to close? Do you want to close the session? Spani.
Guys, so I think we are done now. Thank you very much, April, for taking your time and coming to talk to us, listen to our questions, and answering them. We really appreciate it. And as the guys have said, we would really love to have you back to do some demo for us in the future. So bye, guys. Hope you guys have a lovely evening, and April have a lovely day.
Thanks. All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
Before you
you.
close, I have a thing. Deco said I should mention to the audience that MS Build is happening on the 25th till the 27th, and that the session
Oh, yeah.
schedule is now available for people to go register. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Do you have that banner? Bye, April.
Sorry?
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you can remove Deco's comment and then it will show the thing. You can now go register. Basically, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, guys, see you at the build.
Bye.
Guys, sorry for you're closing on us. I want to apologize to the viewers.
Okay.
Yeah, I was MIA because of network issues, and I was stressing out in the background. But luckily, I could make it in the end. So sorry, guys, about that. I really apologize. I'll make it up to you guys on the next session, or the next session we have with April, where she demonstrates. Yeah, then it'll be really cool. We'll have Tico on. It'll be really cool. Anyways, thank you guys for joining and actually tuning in. We really appreciate the support as always. Bye, guys. Until next week, basically. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.